a language that everybody here can easily understand. We all agree tonight, all of the speakers have agreed that America has a very serious problem. Not only does America have a very serious problem, but our people have a very serious problem. America's problem is us. We're her problem. The only reason she has a problem is she doesn't want us in.
Okay, you got it?
Black, brown, red, or yellow. A so-called Negro. You represent the person who poses such a serious problem for America because you're not wrong.
Welcome to Message to the Grassroots on Poor People's Revolutionary Radio, 96.1 KEXU FM LP. This is your post scholar, Biz Molotov, a.k.a. Voodoo Child, along with my co-host tonight, Amin Ra. What's the call? Freedom Mall. On tonight's show, we want to offer some commentary on the Sisyphus syndrome as regards to combating police terrorism. But first, we'd like to start off with a quote from political prisoner Jamil Al-Amin, formerly known as H. Rap Brown. Quote, "Anything that you don't control will be used as a weapon against you." I want to repeat that quote. Anything that you don't control will be used as a weapon against you. As again, that was stated by H. Rap Brown, now known as Jamil Al-Amin, former chair of SNCC, revolutionary of the 60s. And when he stated that statement, it was true then, and it is true now. We're going to talk about how that is relevant to today. As I said, we want to do a commentary about this Sisyphus syndrome. Who is Sisyphus, you might ask? Some of you may remember Sisyphus from high school in your Greek mythology class. Those who did not read about Sisyphus, Sisyphus was a king that was punished by the gods who he had pissed off for his chronic deceitfulness. And he was compelled to roll an immense boulder up a hill only to watch it roll back down, to repeat this action over and over again. Familiar. Y'all remember Sisyphus? Well, we have time and time again witnessed the same scenario after there has been another state-sanctioned execution of a community member at the hands of the state terrorist organization popularly known as the police, the Ku Klux Klan. So, we want to relate this to the Sisyphus syndrome. Whenever there's a state-sanctioned public execution occurs, the response is pretty much the same as the Sisyphus dilemma. There will be, people will respond with righteous indignation through spontaneous small rebellions, through demonstrations, through protests, press conferences. They will attend rubber stamp civilian police commissions. So-called chosen leaders are trotted out for the purpose of chilling out the people's righteous anger, and then they leave when the cameras have left. There will be promises of investigations, there will be candlelight visuals, and finally, blood money is paid out to relatives of the victims of police terror and murder, as though you can place a monetary value on anyone's life. Along with that, they'll offer us meaningless reforms. After all the attention to the latest in pig terror suicides, after the sides, things go back as normal. People go back with their lives, life catches up with people, they have to attend school, they have to work, they have to take care of their children, and so forth. But as we've seen, things go right back to the way they were until the next police atrocity is committed. Albeit, these are legitimate and necessary responses by the people, yet they are limited and temporary responses. This is the nature of the Sisyphus syndrome that is played out time and time again. The Sisyphus syndrome has been about mostly a reactionary approach. What we have to do more is have more proactive approaches that builds people power, the necessary power to change the genocidal practice of law enforcement in a racist and capitalist social order. Let's look at the correct way of handling state-sanctioned violence in our community. There are several steps or approaches that we can take in changing and getting past the Sisyphus syndrome. The first step could be, first and foremost, is the recognition that the police serve as an occupying army in the black, brown, and red communities. The U.S. is a settler state, and the police are settler cops that maintain through threat, coercion, arrest, and imprisonment the relationship between internal colonized nations and the U.S. settler state. Community control of the police is a step in severing this relationship as part of the process of national liberation of the colonized nations here in Americaland. Community control of the police is an expression of the human right of self-determination of black, brown, and red people's control of their destinies. Another step could be we must train and support each other to protect ourselves, our families, our neighborhoods. When we fear calling the police or fear that the police will only make things worse. Case in point, I hope I'm saying his name right, Warren Regulo, the Daly City man who died after being tased, after the police used a taser on him at his home Tuesday night. This is a tragic reminder to the family of Warren Regulo, who had constantly summoned the police about their son, a reminder that the police do not protect and serve our communities. Poor Magazine conducts a community workshop called How Not to Call the KKKOP Cops or Sheriffs Ever. That is an ongoing teaching on traumatized people's accountability, how to redefine a Western white supremacist notion of security, and hold each other through trauma into a true definition of interdependent safety. You need to check that out. Another step or response is community control of the police. Community control of the police is a component of decolonization and a process to change the settler colonial army social relationships that exist in our communities through transforming our struggles into strategies for self-determination and liberation. This would entail replacing the current so-called civilian police commission, which in reality are nothing more than rubber stamp boards for the police. Replacing these rubber stamp police commissions with independent, democratically elected People's Commission for Justice, whose powers would include but not limited to the power to discipline, fire, investigate, the power to subpoena police department personnel to appear before it and to produce pertinent evidence, and settling policies and controlling the budget of the police. Now, we're not naive in thinking that these steps just described are a panacea for ending police terrorism in our community. Not as long as this parasitic and oppressive social order known as Americaland exists. Yet, these approaches advance our efforts in curbing police terrorism and controlling these rabid stormtroopers for gentrification and agents enforcing white supremacy. So, we need to start looking at these proactive approaches, folks. We need to move away from that Sisyphus syndrome of rolling that boulder up the hill just to have it to roll back down and having to roll it up all over again. This is the Sisyphus syndrome and the nature of our approaches to police executions in our community. And we want to further that. We say community control the police. Because go back to the quote by H. Rod Brown: "What you do not control will be used as a weapon against you, and we have to control these pigs out here." What we're saying is disempower, disarm, disband the police. This has been a message to the grassroots on Poor People's Radio 96.1 KEXU FM LP. This has been your Scholar Biz Molotov, aka Voodoo Child. Poor People's Revolutionary Radio. Stay tuned for whoever's coming up next. And all power to the people. For those people not afraid to take some power. We out.